laziest insult you can give an Asian girl? This is so cliche.
Let's get into this. I've been wanting to talk about it for a long time, but I'm glad that Sharon is kicking off the conversation. And what I want to say is that can we just normalize accepting that Asian women can date whoever they want to date without anyone having an opinion on it? I have dated both white men and Asian men, but the one time that I was dating a white man, it was a group of Asian men that made me feel uncomfortable because my ex-boyfriend and I were walking past a group of Asian men and they scoffed at us. No reason why my relationship should personally offend you. It's 2022. You can't be calling people race traitors anymore. I'll acknowledge that media, Asian people, Asian women have played a role in demasculating or emasculating Asian men in the past, but let's find a way to move forward because this isn't productive anymore and I don't want to hear this.
I made a video talking about how growing up I only wanted to date white guys and not Asian guys until I saw Asian artists like BTS, which made a lot of people really upset. So I'm gonna talk about my perspective. I grew up in the Midwest, and if you know the Midwest, that is a very white area. All my neighbors were white, and going to preschool, all my friends were white. A lot of the Asian guys that I had known growing up were like family and my brother, so the thought of dating an Asian guy made me feel like I was dating my brother, and I did not want that. And going to high school, I just really wanted to fit in, literally sue me, and all the popular guys were white. And even in Western media, white guys were always portrayed as like the popular hunk, and Asian people were always portrayed as like nerdy. That is what I had associated Asian guys with, which is obviously terrible, but I was a child, like what do you expect from me? But anyways, COVID hits and I have a lot of time on my hands and I come across this boy band called BTS. I fell hard for these 7 guys, okay? Like I might not be as vocal or keep up with them as much anymore, but I am ARMY until I die. And not only did I get into K-pop, but I also got into like K-dramas and just like Asian beauty. And after COVID, I moved to New York City, which had a much larger Asian population, where I met a bunch of different Asian people with like various interests, various personalities. And even though I grew up telling my mom I was gonna marry a white man, I only ever ended up dating Asian guys. So yeah, if you're still mad, I really don't care. But I just want to tell my story.
What are some of the things that people say to you when you get those hater messages regarding who you married?
You know, she wants green card,
She
which I did. It makes me laugh, actually. I made a bit about it on my TikTok, and I said, I married him because I support charity. He didn't come from money. Like, he grew up in Hardin, Kentucky, the North Korea of America, and grew up in trailer. If I really wanted status, I wouldn't marry a hillbilly from middle of nowhere.
When I tell you this man was not my type, I mean like at all. This is a story time about how dating outside of your type may actually be exactly what you need. Hi, baby. I had just broken up with my boyfriend of 5 years, 7 months prior. I was living my best single girl life. At this point in time, I had actually decided to stop dating because for the first time since maybe I was a child, I was actually happy being completely single and on my own. But your girl was in New York. I was being a city girl. It was a weekday, so literally all of my friends in New York were working. I'd already done all the touristy things that I could think of. I really wasn't feeling New York. I had an hour to kill before meeting up with my friends, so I was like, why don't I get a view of the city from a local's perspective? So I re-downloaded a dating app, matched with this man just because he had just gotten back from a long trip to Asia and Europe. And your girl was about to go to Asia for this 3-month-long trip, which actually didn't end up happening. But regardless, I was just like, great, I'll just get some tips from him. We didn't really talk on the app. I was just like, full disclosure, I don't live here, but what are you doing right now? I show up and this man legit has a curly mustache, like curled at the ends, handlebars. This is the ridiculousness that was sitting across from me. Mind you, my type is not just completely hairless. I like my men Asian. But whatever, I was just meeting up with a new friend, getting some tips. So we hung out at the bagel shop for like an hour. He walks me back to my friend's apartment, asks me for my Instagram so we can stay in touch, and then does not lean in for a kiss. First green flag right there. I don't know about y'all, but I absolutely hated when men would lean in for a kiss at any given opportunity. Like, please, sir, we just met. My lip balm's got SPF in it and I need that protection. Anyways, that's how we met. And honestly, I never thought I'd see the guy again. And again, wasn't my type. So I wasn't planning on making any effort, especially because I still lived in Texas and he lived in New York. Our second date though, crazy. Like, insane. And now I'm in the happiest and healthiest relationship that I've ever been in. And I'm a huge advocate for dating outside of your type, because you never know what's gonna happen.
The Oxford study is real, but not because Asian women worship white men. Yes, some Asian women may prefer dating white men, but that's because they've been conditioned to. Centuries of brutal Western colonization in Asia forced Asia to conform to whiteness. And this still continues today through the gentrification of Bali and Siargao, passport bros preying on Southeast Asian women living in poverty, Israel's occupation in West Asia, and American imperialism in Taiwan. These are the real Oxford studies, the real current ways the West still forces Asia to submit to them. So why are we still spamming random Asian women's comments with Oxford study instead of holding the West accountable for its ongoing imperialism? Because it's easier to bully Asian women than to confront Western power. So the Oxford study is real, but it's not about who Asian women date. It's about how the West still forces Asia to submit to them, even today.
I'm also not into white guys. And I don't know, something about like the colonialism look isn't really my thing. And
I could colonize you, girl.
no, I'm really good. I really don't want to be an Oxford study. And I just feel like the blue eyes, there was a thing about it being like a sign of inbreeding. And I definitely can see it when you say you're a little mentally deficient, because I can tell, just.
All right, some of you guys are not going to like hearing this, but I think it needs to be said. The Asian women that only date white men and they tell themselves that it's all just personal preference, I think they know that they're lying to themselves and they just won't admit it. And the reason why I know that is because I used to do the exact same thing. I grew up in a very small town and it wasn't cool to be Asian back then. I probably only knew like 6 other Asian kids growing up, including my own brother. And naturally as a kid, you want to fit in. You don't want to get bullied or made fun of at school. And so I just developed this habit of distancing myself from anything Asian related. So like the language, food, anything Asian. Like if someone at school asked me to say something in Chinese to them, I would just pretend like I didn't speak the language, when in reality, my parents would force me to speak Chinese to them at home. And along with that was Asian men. They just happened to fall in this Asian bubble that I was trying to distance myself from. Even though I think like the food and music and culture, they're great, they're amazing, they're beautiful. But I just didn't want to give them a chance because it was more important for me to fit in. And I think that's the reason why we hear some Asian women say they're not attracted to Asian men. I don't think it's personal preference, because how can you be unattracted to someone just because they share some similar physical traits that you and your ancestors share? I think it just means that there are parts of you that you're insecure about and you're just projecting it onto the Asian male version of yourself.
You think your life is bad? There's Asians out there who are getting their girls stolen by white Australian men. Just think about that. Can you imagine?
This is a very hard topic to talk about. I have experienced the exact same thing that you're experiencing in my early 20s, late teen, early 20s. A lot of white men were interested in me, and even though I was consciously open to dating other men of color, they weren't approaching me. There's another situation that is very symptomatic that can tie to your comment. I still hear women of color say this in their mid-30s to 40s. I don't want to date the man from my culture because they remind me of my dad or brother or somebody, a male in my family. This is internalized racism. How can a man of color that you don't know remind you of people in your family? That is generalization based on race. And that is what racism is. When we have internalized racism, there are small things that we do that people notice. Low-grade white men have detectors towards those insecurities. Some men of color also have self-loathing, so they might be looking for white women. Self-loathing repels good people in general.